In the early 393, Jerome entered a long-standing theological controversy related to Origen's name, known as Origenism, and triggered the beginning of the second phase, marked by the negative attitudes toward Origen and his literary and spiritual heritage. Epiphanius of Salamis came to Jerusalem, raising theological controversy against the followers of Origen, the Origenists. In his work Panarium, in which he discusses heresies, he puts Origenism in the 64th place. By that time, Jerome was already a big Origen supporter, let's put it that way, thought that started to change it in light of his new situation. He decided to stand by Epiphanius in the fight against the Organists and against the local bishop of Jerusalem, John, whom he accused of also being an Origenist. His long-standing friendship with his friend Rufin was abruptly terminated precisely because of their relations to their former theological teacher of exegesis and theology, Origen. The rift between them, as time went on, gradually deepened. At the same time, Jerome wanted to shed all doubt arising from the allegations that he was an Origenist, and did everything in order to mitigate, deny, or neutralize his publicly known enthusiasm for Origen's theology. His former friend and colleague from the student days in Rome, Rufin, wrote in great detail how Jerome's long-standing positive attitude towards the Alexandrian teacher Origen suddenly changed and turned negative. Jerome, a Christian writer and with a reputation for asceticism, known as a translator and biblical scholar, completely distanced himself from Origen, condemning him along with everyone else who continued to be inspired by him, such as his former friend Rufin. We believe that at that moment it was of the utmost importance for Jerome to preserve and show that he was orthodox, thus removing any shadow of Origenism that might fall upon him. In that sense, his fight against Rufin in particular was ruthless. At the time of these and all subsequent events concerning Jerome and his relationship to Origen and Origenism, Christianity had already been the official religion of the Roman Empire for several years. And therein lies the first major difference between the time of Jerome's life and work and the times of Origen's life and work, when Christianity was persecuted and was Origen himself. Jerome, together with Epiphanius and a few years later with Theophilus, the Bishop of Alexandria, formed a kind of coalition that aimed to suppress Origen's teaching accumulated in the phenomenon called Origenism. After many years of controversy, Bishop Theophilus of Alexandria, who himself supported Origen until 399, also suddenly changed his attitude towards Origen under pressure from the anthropomorphic monks and condemned him at the end of the 399 or the beginning of 400, as evidenced in his first synodal letter written against Origen's attitudes, a letter in which he compares Origen even to the traitor Judas and the most wonderfully looking wolf that seeks to deceive and destroy sheep. After the Alexandrian condemnation of Origen and the Origenism attached to his name, there was no other significant theological unrest during the 5th century until Emperor Justinian first issued an edict against Origen and his teachings in the beginning of the 6th century, and proclaimed it at the Synod in Constantinople in 543. 10 years later, in 553, the Second Ecumenical Council in Constantinople again addressed the issue of Origenism and reached the same decisions on that topic. At the Ecumenical Council of Constantinople in 553, assembled by the self-proclaimed theologian Emperor Justinian I, but also met with resistance and disagreement of the then elder Pope Vigilius, who was under close arrest in Constantinople, the Council Fathers condemned the anathematisms against the so-called the 3 chapters, and then Origen himself. The Assembly Fathers put him last on the list, but in the heretical company of Arius, Eunomius, Macedonius, Apollinaris. Interestingly enough, Origen died long before all of them, so according to chronology, he should have been put on the first place, but he was listed last. And from that point on, throughout centuries, Origen was considered heretic in the church. The shade of his name, thanks to Jerome, among others, had also fallen and throughout history remained a part of the church teachings. The church later experienced mutual anathematisms, excommunications, schisms and divisions, first into Orthodox and Catholic Christianity, and after an episode with the Crusades, new schism and division into Catholic and Protestant Christianity in the West. After the new division, religious Christian wars and new divisions ensued. All the things that happened throughout the history of Christianity in that context sought to mitigate and heal the ecumenical movement and interreligious dialogue. Another important event for the subject that should be emphasized is Synod in the West, held in Lateran 649, which in one issue, number 519, embraces and affirms the condemnation given by the Second Ecumenical Council of 553 in chapter 11, by extending the list of heretics, Origen's name was once again included. All subsequent councils and synods since the denunciation of Origen and Origenism in the 6th and 7th century have remained unchanged in this regard. It is believed that a certain change in this regard related to Origen's name occurred only in the second half of the 20th century. At another ecumenical council, the Second Vatican Council, after so many centuries had come by. What happened during the last ecumenical council in regards to Origen? Perhaps we could say nothing significant, nothing so revolutionary, but still, we feel that some change had taken place compared to all previous ecumenical councils when it comes to Origen. In the official documents of the Second Vatican Council, which are the result of many years of consideration and decision-making by the Council Fathers, we can also find some interesting details related to Origen's name and his theology. What is the point of this curiosity and the novelty that came with the Council Fathers of the Second Vatican Council when it comes to Origen and his theology in regards to all previous ecumenical councils, beginning with the one in 553 when he was condemned? What's new and interesting in that the Council Fathers of the Second Vatican Council quoted Origen in three different councils documents, 10 times in total, using 8 of his works. From a statistical point of view, it looks like this. In the dogmatic constitution of the Church in Lumen Gentium, the Council Fathers used Origen exegesis 4 times, referring to his commentary on Romans. Then Lumen Gentium. It is interesting to note that St. Augustine was also quoted after Origen in the same citation. The remaining 2 times he is quoted in Lumen Gentium 6:5 and 49. The Council Fathers quoted Origen 5 times in the decree on the mission activity of the Church ad Gentes 5, 7 and 9. The last time the Church Fathers quoted Origen was in the decree on the ministry and life of presbyters in Presbyterorum Ordinis in issue 7. If you look further and examine how much the Council Fathers of the Second Vatican Council used the theological heritage of Origen's fierce opponent, the fanatical Bishop Epiphanius of Salamis, in the documents, we discovered that this happened only once. The Council Fathers cited Bishop Epiphanius of Salamis in only one place, in Lumen Gentium 56. If you look at the other two, the first declared Origenists and afterwards an anti-Origenist, Bishop Theophilus of Alexandria, and the Palestinian monk and presbyter Jerome, we find, I think, interesting details. Church Fathers of the Second Vatican Council do not mention nor quote anywhere the Bishop of Alexandria, Theophilus, who first condemned Origen as a heretic. On the other hand, his provisional Palestinian assistant and translator of his letters to Latin, Jerome, was mentioned in total of 20 times by the ecclesiastical council fathers, therefore only twice more than Origen, from whom he distanced himself in the last part of his life. The second novelty, in my opinion, concerning Origen's name and his theology can be found, maybe more important, in the Divine Office, Liturgy of the House of the Roman Catholic Church, Breviary, church prayer updated according to the guidelines of the Second Vatican Council and proclaimed by the authority of Pope Paul VI and endorsed in 1971 by the Congregation for Divine Worship. In this church prayer, which is reserved not only for presbyters and monks, but intended for all God's children, we find, among other things, text for consideration, for meditation, and some selected texts written by Origen, which are included as passages from his various exegetical works in the readings. For all the citation and page numbers, I have used the Croatian edition of Breviary. For comparison, neither Bishop Epiphanius of Salamis nor Bishop Theophilus of Alexandria, formerly the chief leader of Origen's first conviction in the late 4th century and in the beginning of the 5th century, also cannot be found anywhere in the Divine Office of the renewed prayer of the Church of the 20th and 21st century. As for Jerome, the Divine Office cited him several times, with a total of 4 different readings, and the rest consists of the same quote repeated in all 4 issues of Divine Office. In his reflections on the great figures of the early Church, Pope Benedict XVI, today Pope Emeritus, thinks of Origen as one of the most figures of the early Church, a key figure in the whole development of the Christian thought. In the light of these thoughts and the changes in various areas, attitude toward Origen, among others, that took place during the Second Vatican Council, we must ask, I think, the question. How do we comprehend Jerome's relationship to Origen's heritage today? Moreover, not only Jerome's relationship, but also that of Bishop Theophilus of Alexandria and then Epiphanius. How to understand these personal relationships with Origen dating back to more than 1,600 years, and in particular, how to understand the official condemnation of Origen at the local synods in Alexandria and Constantinople, or even the condemnation at the Second Ecumenical Council in 553, when the Council Fathers placed him among heretics. And, on the other hand, we have Council Fathers of the Second Vatican Council, who in their documents partly use of Origen's heritage that was condemned by the Council Fathers in Constantinople. Considering both the personal negative attitude towards Origen's heritage, such as that of Jerome and others, and subsequent official negative judgment of the Church Teaching Council of the Second Ecumenical Council in 553, in the light of all those and current events can provoke not only different interpretations and reactions, but also a kind, maybe a slightly confusion that may result from it. This is especially true when it comes to the official level of relations to Origen's heritage. First of the Second Ecumenical Council in Constantinople, 553, and then later the relations we saw demonstrated by the Second Vatican Council after so many centuries. Based on all of the above, can we assume that during the Second Vatican Council, after all the historical misadventures associated with the name of theology, Origen experienced the greatest apology to his person and his work. And not just an apology, but maybe some kind of rehabilitation. This can be a topic for debate and discussion. Thank you.